Saturday, and I heard there's like a war, but like this craziness that's going on in Dallas and kind of all over the country. And so I said to myself, we need to be able to find some lessons from a story about all of this anti-Islamic rhetoric, this Islamophobic rhetoric that's going on. And so I wanted to discuss, and I know it's a story that we all know, but it's an important story maybe that shines light to what our community is going through today, which is the story of Umar bin al-Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him, radiallahu anhu, the great man that we know as Umar, the great leader, the great ambassador of Islam, one of the greatest humans, the second greatest human after the prophets and after Abu Bakr to ever walk on the face of the earth, Umar bin al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, and how his story began. And since I don't have a lot of time, I'll get right into it. Umar was known, he was about 27 years old, about my age, when he accepted Islam, when the Prophet ﷺ became a prophet. The Prophet ﷺ was around 40 and Umar was about 13 years younger than the Prophet ﷺ. And Umar was amongst the leaders of Quraysh at a very young age. He was growing up from being amongst the leaders of Quraysh with Amr bin As and Khalid bin Walid. He was kind of in that generation. And as he grew up with extremely strong leadership characteristics. He was extremely, first and foremost, his demeanor, his stature was very large. They used to say that Umar would ride a horse and his feet would probably, they're touching the ground. Meaning he's the size of LeBron or, Kevin Durant. He's probably 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", something of that stature. Extremely strong as well. Very, very strong personality, as of course we all know, especially the guys. He's extremely, as Quraysh used to use him, he was extremely eloquent. He was a great leader. He was good with people. He was an amazing businessman. He was the ambassador. He was the Safir of Quraysh for many years. So Quraysh would send him out to deal with any hardships, conflicts, any issues with the Arabs. He was one of the main ambassadors that Quraysh used. At the same time, Umar had a very, very dark side to him. I always, when I talk to Umar, especially with young people, I resemble him to Scarface, right? He was the Tony Montana of Quraysh. Extremely ruthless, very, very strong, very, very, in many ways, very, very evil in many things that he did before Islam, of course. He was known and he would proclaim himself, he would be one of those that would get drunk very often. He would be of those that would deal with the opposite gender very often. He was extremely ruthless. He was very strong in his demeanor when dealing with others. And so it kind of just brings you to the story very quickly of how did it click. And subhanAllah, again, in the limelight of Islam today, people that want to carry guns and AK-47s and stand in front of our very intimidating, this kind of very demeanor, this very strong, ruthless demeanor. Well, Umar was very, very much like that. Umar, he would walk around with the Prophet ﷺ. As the Prophet ﷺ is walking around talking to people, he would walk around with the Prophet ﷺ and go and insult the Prophet ﷺ in front of him, or tell the people that this guy's a liar, this guy's a this guy's a that. He had an extremely antagonistic approach towards Islam. And subhanAllah, the story of his conversion after many years, and after many years of being one of the worst enemies of the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ made his famous dua, Allahumma a'izz al-Islam, oh Allah, give honor and dignity, give izzah through Islam, bi-ahad al-Umarain, with one of the two Umars, if you will, or Ams, which was Am bin Hashim, which was Abu Jahl, or Abu al-Hakam, Abu Jahl as we know him today, or Umar ibn Khattab, and of course he was the one that accepted Islam. How did Umar come into Islam? Very quickly. Umar, one day the Prophet ﷺ he was praying at the Kaaba late at night. And of course the Prophet ﷺ at that time was facing Al-Aqsa. And of course Al-Aqsa today, and I wanted to talk about Al-Aqsa a little bit. Al-Aqsa is going through a very devastating time as well. And I think we need to be very, very aware. The Prophet ﷺ, in the early stages of Islam, they were not facing the Kaaba. They didn't face the Kaaba until about 15 years later, right? From the beginning of initiation of Islam. So the Prophet ﷺ was facing Al-Aqsa, and Umar ibn Khattab, he narrates the story that he came to listen to the Prophet ﷺ. And so he didn't want the Prophet to see him, so he hid underneath the cloth of the Kaaba. And the Prophet ﷺ is obviously praying and he's reciting and he's facing away from the Kaaba. And so Umar, he wanted to hear, what is this message that the Prophet ﷺ had? What is this message that Muhammad is preaching? And so he goes and he hides underneath the cloth of the Kaaba and he says to himself, I'm trying to see what is Muhammad ﷺ, what is he talking about? So Allah, he hears, Allah just so happened to make him hear verses at the end of Surah Al-Haqqah that were perfect for him. So Allah Azza wa Jalla says, end of Surah Al-Haqqah, فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِمَا تُبْصِرُونَ وَمَا لَا تُبْصِرُونَ. I swear to you, and this is the Prophet reciting Allah's words to Umar, I swear to you by all that you see and all that you don't see. إِنَّهُ لَقَوْلُ رَسُولٍ كَرِيمٍ. These are nothing but the words of a noble, honorable prophet. He's a messenger that's honorable and noble. So Umar, he hears the words, and again, back in Mecca, when they heard those words of the Quran, it was miraculous to them. It was like the best. I know, maybe for the younger guys, very, very impressed by rap lyrics. The Lil Wayne who can't rap, or the Drake lyrics, or these whack lyrics or Meek lyrics, and we get so caught up in diss tracks and this back and forth of how amazingly they destroyed them and dropped the mic. Well, the Quran, every time they heard it, it was as if it was lyrics that were being dropped and the mic would explode. Like it wasn't dropping the mic, like the mic would explode. And so Umar understands that these are amazing words. And he says to himself in his mind as he hears the Prophet ﷺ, these cannot be the words of a human. He is a magician. He's a witch. He's a magician. He's a sorcerer. These aren't words of a human. So the next verse in Surah Al-Haqqah, وَمَا هُوَ بِقَوْلِ شَاعِرٍ قَلِيلًا مَا تُؤْمِنُونَ. These aren't the words of somebody possessed, like these aren't the words of some poet that you think like, how can he put these words together? They're not the words of a poet. How little do you believe? And so he said, I apologize, he said these are amazing words. Allah says these are not the words of a poet. So he says, oh my God, he read my mind. So he must be a sorcerer. He must be like, how did he know I said these are not words of his? He must be like reading my mind. He must be a witch. So Allah Azza wa Jalla says, وَمَا هُوَ بِقَوْلِ كَاهِنٍ قَلِيلًا مَا تَذَكَّرُونَ. These are not the words of a magician. How little do you know? تَنزِيلٌ مِّن رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. They came down from the Lord of the universe himself to this man. So Umar, just like normal guys, they don't like to be confused. I don't know if sisters are listening, but most of you guys are. We don't like to be confused or distressed. When guys are distressed or confused or they're angry or they're emotional, we don't sit and cry. We become angry. Most guys. I come from New York. I deal with a lot. I grew up around fake tough guys, and I see a lot of fake tough guys. Alhamdulillah, Dallas kids are much better than that. But there's a lot of fake toughness because on the inside we're very, very emotional, but we don't want to show it, especially guys. So Umar, he's a young guy going through this like, what just happened to me experience. So he goes home. Narration goes that he went home and he's confused, like he doesn't know what to do. So he comes back the next day, and of course so much had been building up. He finally said to himself, you know what? This Muhammad guy is driving me crazy. So I'm just going to go and kill him. And you know what? If I kill him and his clan wants to take revenge on me, that's fine. They can kill me. But it's driving me crazy. He's driving our town crazy. I'm just going to go kill him. So he takes his sword and he walks outside of his house and he's going to walk to the Prophet ﷺ to kill him. On the way there, a companion, we would later know that he was a companion, one of the people of Quraysh, a companion, he walked up to Umar and he knew that Umar is about to do something down and evil. So he kind of took like an instigating role. In a fight, there's always people that instigate fights, especially in school, especially in young kids. There's people that are about to fight and there's somebody that's instigating the fight. So he's trying to instigate Umar, like, where are you going? Umar, what's going on? Tell me where you're going. And Umar tells him, I'm going to kill Muhammad. So he tells him, Ya ibn al-Khattab, your sister and her husband, they're Muslims. Why are you going to the Prophet? Why don't you go take care of your own family? So Fatima bint al-Khattab, radiallahu anha, and her husband Sa'id, they accepted Islam. So Umar didn't know. Of course, they were, at that time, Islam was pretty much secretive. It was private. It was hidden. So Umar goes to their house, and we all know the story, kicks down the door, and when we're angry, when we want to show emotion as guys, we just destroy the place. Just punch the wall, flip the table. Umar did the same exact thing. He punched his brother-in-law across the room, slapped the sister, she twirled probably 15 times and landed, flipped the table, destroyed the house, sat down, and said, can I read what you guys were reading? It was like this extreme show of emotion, confusion, this utter chaos is going on inside of him. And after he sees his sister breathing and his brother-in-law, like probably with a black and blue, like his eyes swelled up, he says, can I read this Quran that you guys were just learning? And Khabbab bin al-Arad, by the way, was in the house teaching them. So he sees the pamphlets, and Allah Azza wa Jalla, it's as if Allah again is talking to Umar. He reads the verses, as we all know, the passages of Taha. Taha ma anzalna alayka al-Qur'ana litashqa. Oh, it's as if he's saying, Allah is telling Umar, oh Umar, we didn't reveal this Qur'an so that you can be in this utter distress, this internal conflict that's going on inside of you. And then Allah Azza wa Jalla, He reads the verses, and then he gets up and he walks to the Prophet's house. Hamza bin Abd al-Muttalib, the uncle of the Prophet, he saw Umar coming, and he told the companions, leave him alone, I'm going to kill him with his own sword. Let him come. So the Prophet told him, stand back, Ya Hamza. Let him in. And Umar ibn Khattab, he comes in and he takes the Shahada and becomes Muslim. And of course, from that time, the companion said, Islam was at a different phase. It changed the face of Islam. And again, I mention this story because, sometimes, first and foremost, sometimes the people that are furthest away from us, it could be a brother, a cousin, a relative, it could be someone that we love, someone that we don't know. They can be so far, they can be in deep, dark sins. They used to say that Umar's donkey would become Muslim before Umar would. They used to swear that his donkey would stand up and make prayer or make tawaf around the Kaaba or fast Ramadan before Umar. But subhanAllah, the reality is that Allah Azza wa Jal, He turns hearts. That Allah Azza wa Jal, and the words of Allah Azza wa Jal, they change the worst of people to the best of people. And so Umar was extremely, again, very, very far away in sin. And he was extremely ruthless towards Islam. And again, probably tomorrow we're going to see a whole bunch of crazy, let's be honest, rednecks. Probably don't understand anything about Islam. Just have all this hatred and all this anger built up in them. But subhanAllah, our mission is to just convey the message as best as possible. Our mission and our understanding of our mission in earth and holding this sacred book and holding the message of this book is that our job is to do our best to guide people as far and as evil as we might think they might be, because it is the most evil person that was at their time that became one of the best men that we until now know today as one of the greatest humans that ever existed. So the lesson through the life of Umar is that any person, whether they're Muslim or not, as far away as evil as they might appear to be, that their hearts can easily change with a couple of verses of Quran. بَلِّغُوا عَنِّي وَلَوْ آيَةً. Even if it's one verse, it can destroy the hardness of their hearts and bring them to the fold of Islam. It can be a smile, something little that we do that brings them to the fold of Islam. But of course here, and I also want to mention this as well, because it's very, very important, that doesn't also mean that Muslims get stepped on. And I think sometimes as a community, in the sake of da'wah, we are okay getting stepped on. There are limits also to being stepped on, right? The time that the Prophet ﷺ was in was definitely a time of weakness and hardship. But we aren't in a, and alhamdulillah, just coming from overseas, wallahi, it reminds you about the blessings that we have as a community in this country. We aren't supposed to let people step on us either. Right? That's not what Umar would do either. Umar would be extremely strong, as he was from the moment that he accepted Islam. He was extremely strong against everybody that wanted to. It was like, you know what, okay, like during the famous incident when he made hijrah, he said, listen, whoever wants to have their mother lose them, make their wife a widow and have their children be orphans, meet me outside. I mean, Umar also brought a strength to Islam that we need to represent and carry. Yes, people can be very evil, and we should, of course, do our best to give them the message, be polite, be humble. But when they transgress, when they carry arms as our children are coming to the masjid, we don't take that lightly. We blow up we're supposed to blow up the spots of our politicians, our community leaders, our city leaders, police officers. I mean, at Mass, we had a meeting just a couple of days ago with the police chief. They didn't want to bring police to patrol the center during Jum'ah time. So we have to make a ruckus. We have to make our voices heard and call bigots, and call people that are full of hate, and not be scared or intimidated. Yes, if people want to dialogue and conversate, absolutely. If people want to come in and be respectful and honorable and kind, that's absolutely okay. But there's also a limit where we hold our deen with izzah, and we also, show this strength and forcefulness against anybody that transgresses respect or transgresses the rights of others. It's very, very important. So I don't want us to be stepped on in the name of da'wah, but I also want us to be aware that any human being that we interact with, we should be cautious and kind of have this eye on them of being able to accept Islam, no matter how far they might be, whether you're a young man, a young woman, somebody that's really far struggling to practice, or somebody that you know that's a non-Muslim that is full of hate. It is just the story of Umar that reminds us about how easily the hearts can turn. Barakallahu feekum, jazakumullah khair. I apologize for taking maybe a little bit too long. Inshallah ta'ala, Ustad Muhammad will be back to really hammer out the series, inshallah ta'ala. Barakallahu feekum, inshallah ta'ala. I hope everything goes well tomorrow, and keep those two things in mind, bidhnillah, and ask Allah Azza to protect us and our community, and to bless those that don't understand anything about Islam with the blessing of accepting Islam and learning about the message of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Barakallahu feekum. Assalamu alaikum.